Okay, good morning. We are in the Hilchos of 3 weeks, Tav Kuf Nun Aleph. Just to share a story, thanks to Reuven, from the Shoel Meshiv, Rav Yosef Shaul Natanzan. So he, apparently he wanted to be Machmer and wear Big Day Chol on Shabbos. So he's out with his coat or his suit, and he accidentally reaches into his pocket, pulls out a cigarette, and he almost used it on Shabbos. And so he decided not to keep this minhag. Right? We know the Vilna Gaon wore big day. He writes to wear big day Shabbos, and I think most of us wear big day Shabbos, but it depends on your minhag. Some people change one item. Okay. And yes, we got clarified, just to double check, to clarify, it's Ketonet was the undergarments that we all wear, even if they're fresh. The Ramah is Machmer except for the Afraf, that's what we said. And Parochas is certainly of the Aron Kodesh, just extra Chumrah that many point out is to we don't, that it's, whatever applies to the Parochas applies to the tablecloths. Okay. Fine. So let's go on. We also mentioned spot cleaning afterwards. So that's going to be mutter. So that was brought down also in Shema Shabbos Kilchasa, Igros Moshe, Chazon Ovadia. And, okay, let's read inside Daled. Le'achar ha'tainit mutter lesaper u'lechabes miyad. So after the tainus, after Tisha B'Av, you're allowed to, the halacha is you are allowed to get haircuts that night, and you're allowed to do laundry immediately after Tisha B'Av. So that's the halacha, that's what's brought down in the Shulchan Aruch. However, we're going to see later on, in a few simanim later, that Sfardim Ramachmer not to have meat that night, and but everything else is mutter. Ashkenazim, they don't have meat or laundry or haircuts until Chatzot the next day. We'll get to that later. But this is the Ikar Halacha. The rest is Minhag. V'im chal Tisha B'Av b'Yom Rishon o b'Shabbos v'nidche le'achar Shabbos. What happens if Tisha B'Av falls out on Sunday or Shabbos and pushed off to Sunday? We always for anios. Mutar bishtei hashabbatot bein shekodem matanit bein she'acharav. So there is, so the whole week, when it says bishtei hashabbatot, it's referring to the weeks, not Shabbos itself. The whole week before, the whole week after, there's no shavua shechalbo. So whatever is mutar is mutar, unless you keep the 3 weeks or Rosh Chodesh, depending on what the item is. V'yesh misha, right? Some are machmer that if Sunday is Lamaisa Tisha B'Av, so the Ikar Halacha is, and that's the Shulchan Aruch, is there is no Shavua Shechalbo, but some Svardim are Machmer, or some Poskim are Machmer to make the whole week before, because we don't want to have no Shavua Shechalbo, so you end up with a full 7 days, or 6 days. V'yesh mi she'omer, shenagu les Shavua Shalafanav, right, this is the other opinion. There is an opinion in the Rishonim that says, no, you keep the whole week before, because you can't not have a Shavua Shechalbo. Chutz miyom chamishi v'yom shishi. But according to this opinion, there is kulas on the Thursday and Friday, so you can get ready for Shabbos. Haga. V'noagim lahachmir. But the Ramah says, well, anyways, we keep basically everything. L'chumra mitchilas rosh chodesh li'inyan kibus. So for laundry, we keep already Rosh Chodesh, so there's not much that applies to this Shavua Shechalbo. Aval tispor noagim machmer mishiva asar b'tammuz. And when it comes to haircuts, we already machmer from already the 3 weeks from Shiva asar b'tammuz. Svardim were only machmer for haircuts for Shavua Shechalbo. Okay. Hey. Asur le'ivriot. So this week of Shavua Shechalbo, you're not allowed to do laundry, even if it's not your own clothing, even if it's for somebody else. It could also be because of Marasayin, even if it's for Goyim, but even though we're Machmer, not even for Rosh Chodesh, for Ashkenazim, the Mishnah Berurah says, if it's clothing that looks Goyish clothing, okay, that's also a question. But anyways, if it's something that you wouldn't have Maris Ayin for, that it belongs to a Goy, then you could be Mekil for starting from Rosh Chodesh, but not from Shavua Shechalbo.
So a Jewish man that owns a store.
Right, so stores, we touched that upon. So generally when it comes to stores, we say if you can be Machmer, depending on your situation, better not to work, Mamatin Ba'avoda, and we're about to see soon, it's a big problem for tailors and in particular, making shoes, laundry, but there are many cases when we're Mekel. We'll read this in a moment. Asur Vav. Kelim Chadashim. So brand new Kelim, and this basically includes any Kelim, any clothing, we're talking about clothing primarily, any clothing that, even if it's old, but it's freshly laundered, certainly if it's pressed and everything. So then, for this halacha, basically the same category for this halacha. And it doesn't matter what color, if it's white, it's colored, it's wool or flax, linen. Asur lilbosh b'shabbat zeh. You're not allowed to wear this whole week. It's talking about the week of Shavuot Shechalbo. And the Ramah says, right, so Sephardim only wear, they wear freshly laundered clothing, start even Rosh Chodesh. They only start the Isser of Shavuot Shechalbo for clothing. Ashkenazim, they start already from Rosh Chodesh. So Ashkenazim have to prepare their clothing, used clothing, worn clothing. Then you obviously need a few more garments to prepare to wear, whatever, for a moment, a little bit before, so that it's not fresh when they enter the Rosh Chodesh or Shavuot Shechalbo. Okay. I think that's that. Okay, I'll just point out, Dirshu has a couple interesting examples or details. If it's a little bit creased, then that's already mutter. That's not called new for this halacha. That's Shem Orach Chaim Kanievsky. If you have new furniture, new cabinets you want to install, or new furniture you want to buy, so he brings down in Igros Moshe that it's probably, I don't know if it's Asur or you're not supposed to during this week. Because it's Sinyanis of Simcha. So anyway, so obviously Mamatin. Let's see. Now, when we say hand-me-down clothing is not new. Just new means new. It could mean if it's freshly worn and pressed or whatever, then that also has a din of new. But hand-me-down, just because it's new for you doesn't mean it's new. That's B'Shem Rav Chaim Kanievsky. Now, something to point out, there's a difference. We're going to read this, I think we're going to read this inside soon. There's going to be I'm not sure. There's a difference between freshly or new clothing versus Big Day Shabbos. So in other words, we learned before for a bris, if you have a bris during Shavuot Shechalbo, you're allowed to wear Big Day Shabbos. But you're not supposed to wear freshly pressed clothing or new clothing, even if it's for a bris. So you should wear it ahead of time, and then so it's not brand new. Basically that's probably a bar mitzvah, whatever, the same halacha, that you can wear Big Day Shabbos, but you can't wear new clothing. And the Mishnah Berurah just points out the new clothing we're talking about over here is Mistama we're talking about. There's not an issue of Shechianu, because we normally try not to say the bracha of Shechianu. Maybe on Shabbos we do it, okay, maybe, depends, Hagim. But for Shechianu we generally avoid for the 3 weeks. So we're talking about over here, the Mishnah Berurah says either new garments that you don't have to say Shechianu on, otherwise it's true, you may be able during the, because let's say before Shavuot Shechalbo, you shoot, or Rosh Chodesh, you can wear new garments, but you can't say Shechianu. So then it's talking about something like shoes or unimportant clothing, socks, things that you wouldn't say Shechianu for, or when you bought it, you already said Shechianu. Because you can say Shechianu either when you buy it or when you wear it for the first time. Okay. Vav, Zayin. Yesh omrim she'asur letakin begadim chadashim umin alim chadashim b'Shabbat. So, zeh, v'yesh lahachmir b'zeh me'rosh chodesh. Okay, so now when it comes to tailors or shoemakers, you want to make or fix clothing. So this is a problem for Shavuot Shechalbo and or even Rosh Chodesh. Haga. V'huadin the asur liknotan. You also can't buy them. V'chen uman Yisrael asur la'asotam la'achirim. Even if you're an uman, this is your livelihood. You can't do it for others. Bein b'sachar, bein b'chinam. Even if it's for money. But then he concludes the Rama v'nagu lahakel bazeh. But the minhag became to be mekel.
What to
buy, to do it, I think. Mishnah Berurah says that's when you gave it to him before Rosh Chodesh. But because after Rosh Chodesh you can't be giving your stuff to the tailor. That we learned already. So that's, but anyways, when it comes to livelihood, you don't have what to eat or different, I think we'll move on, but there are heterim for people who need it for business, probably similar to what we learned by Chol HaMoed, but we try not to, or to do it as much b'tzina as possible. If you have to pay your workers, you're going to lose money, so then there's other heterim. And if it's known that you're doing the job for non-Jews, right? In Eretz Yisrael, a little more difficult, but if you're in Chutz La'aretz, your business is for non-Jews, so that's another reason why for them it's mutter. And the minhag is you're allowed to give it to the laundry during Shavuot Shechalbo and have them just tell them have it ready after Tisha B'Av. Umiu, but bottom line, whenever possible, tov l'ma'et bazeh b'makom de'efshar. We try and minimize this as much as possible. Try not to walk into the laundromat or the cleaners on Shavuot Shechalbo or Rosh Chodesh, depending on Ashkenazim Sfardim. And lo adif mishar masel matan dimimatin, because whenever it comes to business anyway, we try to do as little as possible. Okay, chet. Another custom here. Nashe dinihige dela lemishte. There's a custom by women not to lemishte. Perush lesader v'laroch hachutin shaholchin larko ben shel leorko shel beged v'hu milashon o v'shti o v'erev. Basically, that just means, lamishte means setting up your strings in order to make fabric. The loom, whatever. Not to make fabric is basically what it's talking about. Amra is the wool, mida'ayel av. Once av starts, there's a custom by women not to make garments, material, starting from the beginning of av. That's a minhaga, that's the minhag. But there is such a minhag. Okay. Okay. Yerushalmi also has a play on word that the word mishte has Shabbatla Even Shasia, because there's no longer, we lost the Even Shasia, the play on word from the Beis HaMikdash, which is in the Kodesh HaKodashim. Okay, V'noagim shelo l'kadesh HaChodesh ad achar Tisha B'Av, and the custom is, by all, as far as I know, not to say Kiddush Levana or Birkat Levana, depending on your minhag, what you call it. We don't say the bracha on the moon until Tisha B'Av is over. We don't say it during the 9 days, in other words. Obviously not the 9 days, and not even Shavuot Shechalbo. Okay. Tet. Yesh noagim shelo l'chol basar v'lo shelo yishtot yain b'Shabbat zel. So there is the custom, there are many who have the custom, not to have any meat and not to drink wine in the week of Tisha B'Av, Shavua Shechalba. Mutar b'chomet shayayin. Now, wine vinegar, that's fine. V'yesh mosifin, and some have the custom, Rosh Chodesh ad Tainit, starting from Rosh Chodesh Av until Tisha B'Av, not to have any meat. And that is the custom by both Sfardim and Ashkenazim, that when it comes to meat, not everything by Sfardim is Shavua Shechalbo. This is our 9 days for Sfardim is basically for. So there's two opinions by the Sfardim, by the way. When we say from Rosh Chodesh until Tainit, so by Sfardim, some eat meat on Rosh Chodesh itself, and some, in other words, they start from the second day of Av. So two minhagim by Sfardim, but Ashkenazim just start from Rosh Chodesh. V'yesh mosifin mishiva asar b'Tammuz. Now there is a custom not to have any meat for 3 weeks. That might be a little less known, but that's not the common practice. Haga umatznim Rosh Chodesh ve'elech hasakin shel shchita, and we put away the knife of shchita for Rosh Chodesh because you don't have a use for it anymore. She'ein shochatim, except we do shecht still once in a while. We pull it out when you need to. Im letzorach mitzvah, when you have a sudas mitzvah, or lachola for someone who's sick who needs meat during these days. Oh, Shabbos, you still need meat for Shabbos. Oh, Mila, Bris Mila, or Pidyon Habein, Uchayotze Bezeh. Or for, right? Okay, for the Sudas Mitzvahs. Okay. Fine, let's go on. Yud. Yesh Misha Omer Shanogim Shalo Le'achol, Basar B'yamim HaNizkarim, Mutarim B'tavshil Shenidbashel Bo Basar. So some say, now there's a minhag not to have meat for these days, right? We don't have meat these days, but you are allowed to have the rest of the cooked dish that meat was in. In other words, as far as fleshik mochak, it's 100% your fleshik, it's bisari. But as long as you're not eating the chunks of meat, you can have a beef stew or a soup with meat that was cooked in there. Just you can eat everything but the meat itself. The chunks of fat is also a problem, but anything that just dissolves and becomes part of the liquid, that's all mutter. But that's not the, I don't know if it's going to say it. Anyways, the minhag is by both Sfardim and Ashkenazim. We don't have tafshil shabasar either. We say parva or milchak. V'asurim b'vsar of u'v'sar maluach v'yayin toses. However, it is asur, everyone doesn't, both. Ashkenazim, we don't have chicken, we don't have meat that was salted. Basically, it was cooked, not through cooking, but whatever, cooked through salted.
Beef jerky.
Beef jerky. What also? Beef jerky, I think they also cook, no? Or it's just dried? I think so. Anyways, I think it's kind of like roasted a little bit. But anyways, any form of meat, we don't have. Chicken, none of us have. The yayin tosesin, also wine, fresh wine, it's whatever, within 3 days, it's a little bit sweet, not completely ready. It's still, everything is off limits.
Grape juice.
Grape juice. We don't have grape juice either. Grape juice, yeah? I didn't see, but you're probably right. I don't think we have. I don't know for sure. Okay, but perhaps no grape juice. Umutar lishtot yayin avdala birkas hamazon. Now, you are allowed to have wine. So the Shulchan Aruch paskins, you're allowed to drink wine from Havdalah, right? This is going to be Shavua Shechalbo we're talking about, right? Saturday night. Motzei Shabbos, you're going to say Havdalah. Or Birkas Hamazon during the week. Because many have the minhag to have wine after Birkas Hamazon. Okay, to say it ala kos. Haga v'noagin lahachmir shelo lishtot yayin b'birkas hamazon v'lo b'havdalah. Now the Ramah points out, no, the minhag actually is, so this is for Ashkenazim, that they don't have wine after birkas hamazon and not after havdalah. Elo notin latinok, but so you give it to a child. Now, what kind of a child? It's a little bit ambiguous or a little bit unclear. Mishnah Berurah says it has to be where he still has to be a giyah lechinuch. Otherwise, the katan doesn't have value for this. So it has to be shayach to Kiddush, but he has to be young enough where he's not, he's still not sad about the Beis HaMikdash. So Dirshu quotes Orach Chaim Kanievsky, who says, nowadays, even when they're bar mitzvah, they don't know what they're still not sad about the Beis HaMikdash. Some of us, even adults, we don't know what we're missing. So, anyways, so Lamaisa, different minhagim. What's a katan? But if there isn't a katan, you're allowed to drink yourself. Most don't, but some are makbid to do it on beer, which is another question. It gets into other questions of Chamar Medina v'chulei. But okay, I want to certainly allow to do it on grape juice or wine, and for everyone. Okay, mutar. Right. So we said, and if there's no child, mutar be'atzma lishtot havdalah. And so if there is no child, then certainly, even for minhag Ashkenaz, you're going to still drink it yourself. And some say you should have only rov revit or a male lugmav, and don't have too much. Okay, ubeseudat mitzvah. Now, if it's a sudas mitzvah, kagon mila, pidyon habein, v'siyum masachet, usudat erosin, all these things that are done, if it's done when this is during, depending, but let's say Rosh Chodesh or Shavua Shechalbo, depending on the minhagim. So then, in these sudas mitzvah, even though it came out in Shavua Shechalbo, let's say, ochlim basar v'shotin yain, kol hashayachim lasuda. Anything that's as long as it's part of the meal for a sudas mitzvah, you are allowed to have basar v'yain. Aval yesh l'tzamtzem shelo lahosif. But you should make it a smaller siyum than usual. In other words, don't invite everybody in the town, every single person you know in the show. You should keep it to a minimum, people who you're closer to. And many, again, there's different approaches, but many, Mishnah Berurah, others, right? You should not be running from siyum to siyum just to find a heter for you to eat meat. If it works out that you finished learning your masachet, your seder, whatever it is, and it turns out it lands during the 9 days, then go for it. But otherwise, you shouldn't pause for a week or quickly just read a couple more pages in order to land your siyum during the 9 days. Uvashavua shechal Tisha b'av betocha en lechol basar v'lishtot yain rak minyan metzumtzam. And especially if it's during the Shavua Shechalbo, you want to make sure it's even a smaller siyum. V'zeh afilu be'erev Tisha b'av shari. And even erev Tisha b'av, though, if you are making a siyum, even erev Tisha b'av, you're allowed to have meat. But not during the sudas hamafseket. Okay. So drop more. Yud Aleph. Kol mi shochel basar b'makom shenoagim bo eser poretz gader hu v'yinshechenu nachash. Now, wherever the minhag is, whatever the minhag is, for example, not to have meat for the 9 days, so then if a person is poretz geder, if a person does eat it, it's aser, he is being poretz geder because that's the minhag, and he deserves to be bitten by a snake. Umutar lishtot kol shechar. Now beer is okay. Afilu shel dvash shekorin med. Maybe we'll stop. I'll just point out when it comes to children. So there's a couple opinions as far as what to do with children, as far as fleishiks. So I'll just say, Chazon Ovadia says you're allowed to feed your kids, whatever, meat, whatever, up until they're, I think, age 12, I think he writes, something like that. By Ashkenazim, it's all over the place. Rav Hosner says you can give meat up until 3 years old. And then afterwards, so many, right, Al Yashiv and others, right, you can give them chicken or tafshil shel basar, but not past 9, and others say no, also until they're 12 or bar mitzvah, I'm not sure, but different minhagim and opinions when it comes to what to do with kids. Okay, stop.